awesome, brave, and brilliant guest with us today, a public keynote speaking coach, Asger Lindholdt. And we are going to dive into, again, some really brave and brilliant stories. The idea in itself of public speaking is something that, I mean, I still get nervous about it. We're kind of doing it now. I still feel nervous, but you're really capitalizing that. You're really capitalizing the discomfort that loads of people feel. And it's awesome, man. It's awesome to see the things that you have on LinkedIn, where we first became connected, and just to see your work. But of course, it takes bravery, and we're going to dive into that. So anyways, welcome.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me on the show.
You're very welcome. So we're going to, of course, in this space, unpick the bravery that allows people to transform. Almost when we speak about this, we'll realize that there's two lives that can be lived, you know, the ones where you hide and you're scared of public speaking, the ones where you have a story to tell, but you don't tell it. And it would be just awesome to kind of reflect on those two differences. So what you were up to before you got into public speaking, and then how you got into it, really. So what was the first big brave steps for you getting into this world?
Yeah, how I got into it. So you can say the backstory is that I grew up in a home where you can say the narrative was get a good education and work yourself up in a company. Kind of like I never had that entrepreneurial spirit in my parents. They did the best they could, and I understand where they're coming from. And then I had a hard time with my dad, like a lot of clashes together. And he cared a lot about the scientific classes, doing well in those. So I think on a subconscious level or an unconscious level, I probably wanted to, receive that love, get that appreciation. So I ended up studying to become an engineer. And it was okay to study engineering. I had some good friends, and it was okay. Got decent grades and so on, but I wasn't fully fulfilled doing it. And then I started working afterwards in a consultancy company. And I just remember the first day, I got hired. At the first day, I came in at 9, and already at 10 o'clock, I thought, holy smoke, this is very boring. And I'd just been there an hour. The people were lovely. They were friendly. Nothing wrong with that. Good pay and all that. But I was just I didn't like the job. And then I remember getting a lot of advice from other people and saying, you got to stick around before it gets interesting. You got to get experience. You'll work yourself up in the company. And after about 4 years, I was like, you know what? It's still just as boring the first day. Maybe it's a few percent better, but it wasn't really good. And then I studied to become a PhD student at the engineering faculty because a lot of my friends were doing a PhD. And I remember, being a student was okay. But it just ended up being way worse because I'm quite an extrovert. I like being with people. And when you're doing a PhD project, you are mainly by yourself. I mean, you have supervisors to help you, but it's a lonely job to do it. You got to do the research, everything by yourself, more or less. And then I discovered, you got to change. You got to find something you really like because this will eat you up. But it's hard. It's hard to change career, especially when you have a kid on the way. I remember telling my girlfriend, she was girlfriend at that time. Now she's my wife. I remember how I was sitting there in the couch in the living room, and we sat and looked at each other, and I said to her, you know what? I don't want to work as an engineer. It's not what fulfills me. And I could see she was afraid, right? Who are you? What do you want to do? How do you want to make money? And I said, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it, but I just know this is not the way for me. But don't worry. I will support you. I will support our kid that's on the way, but I need to make a plan to find something I love to do. And I think that calmed her down a bit. But I was scared myself too. And then I've done different things to kind of find my passion. But the first realization was really, okay, I don't like this. And being honest with myself, I think too many people are lying to themselves and saying, or at least to other people saying, you know what, this is a great job. I love it. I remember when I opened up to people and said, you know what, I'm not happy in my job. I don't like it. I was surprised by how many people said, you know what, actually, I don't like mine that much either. So I think the first thing is really recognizing for yourself what is it you like and what you don't like. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, Ben.
It makes an awful lot of sense. I can hear. You hear me? Oh, that's
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, so I think one really brave thing that we all need to do, and it is like that part really encompasses it, is actually looking deeply into ourselves and being like, why are we doing this? Do we care enough about this to actually do it well? I mean, like the idea of growing in a business that you don't care about, you can't bring the same energy to it. There is this serious bravery, and it's a weird thing to say, is just being brave enough to look yourself in the eyes and say, do I care enough about this? I mean, sometimes I was even on a live today just saying how we can waste our time so much by just not having that conversation, by then like going to work in places that we don't feel fulfilled and not bringing the best version of ourselves. And we are someone different for doing that. We're like digging ourselves a bit of a hole by just carrying this weight, never looking ourselves in the eye and saying, what do we truly care about? I mean, it's quite clear that the passion there, I mean, I'm sure there was passion there for you, but you highlighted it yourself in saying your dad wanted you to do it more than yourself.
Yeah, or at least I wanted that appreciation, that love. I think every kid, and to some degree, they want to be loved, and yeah. So we're trying to, please our parents in a way, and it took a lot of guts to just say, you know what, I'm doing my own thing now, and I want to find what I love. But I don't think I realized it at that time that I was probably doing it for that reason. I didn't have that insight, but then I started working with myself. One of the things I did, for instance, was studying NLP, neuro linguistic programming, where it's you can say applied psychology, and I got a lot more insights into myself, why I did things, and so on. Started reading more self-help books and really analyzing myself, and that helped me a lot to be like, okay, Asger, you got to be honest with yourself. Why are you actually doing this? But it takes a bit of insight. And I think a lot of people just live lives where they go to work, come home, turn on Netflix. And if that makes you happy, no problem. But I think most people don't live a life full of happiness. And the job I have now, I love. So, besides loving my job, I also come home way more energized. So everything gets better. It's like if you live in a half day crap, the other day is not going to be awesome. It's going to be maybe pretty good at best. But if you had a first half of your day when you went to work that was lovely, I mean, the second half of your day is probably going to be a lot better too. So that
sign up to the things that you really care about, and actually take a second to like appreciate who you are and what things that you most want to work towards. I mean, actually working with passion is so much different to working for someone else's idea rather than your own. I think one thing before we go too much further into it, like what you said about you came home and you said to your wife, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not an engineer anymore, almost. And she looks at you like, well, who are you? Who are you then? What was your response at that point? Did you know who you were, or were you just trying to find out?
I was trying to find out, but I don't think we should attach ourselves too much to our degree. I'm still the same person, that cared for other people, that wanted to, uplift other people. But sure, we put some identity into our work. It's probably one of the most common questions. If you're at a networking event or just out with friends and you meet some other people, like, what do you do? What's your name? And then the second question might be, what do you do? So we do put a lot of identity, at least some people do, to it. So I think I had to detach myself a little bit from this is what I studied, but it's not me. Not that I wanted to leave it behind, it's part of me, but I think we are way more than our degree. We're way more than our work. Yeah. But yeah, I said to her, I don't know how to do it, but I got to find out. And
so how was it that you started to find out? What kind of things did you do? How did you step into something you liked?
Yeah. So I remember I started, I found a group called Live Your Legend, where there's a lot of material on the webpage about how to find your passion and actually live from it. And yeah, then I met with other people who also didn't know what the hell they wanted to do with their lives. And, from some of the material that helped me, I remember one of the questions was, what would you do if you knew you would be successful? And then I had to, find out what I wanted to do. So that was a question. What would, there are loads of questions there, and that, doing that several times, looking through that, talking to other people, and just going out to a lot of networking events, doing different things. And one day I stumbled across something called Toastmasters, and that was about giving speeches. It's like an international organization where it's like a nonprofit. It's quite cheap, for like £5 a month to come, depending a little bit on the club. But anyway, you could go there and give some speeches. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a try, see what it is. And, I kind of liked it. So I went there for a couple of years. But, being who I wasn't confident enough to say I actually wanted to be up there on the stage and speak. Yeah, I would go up there and do my 5-minute talk every now and then. But, be, okay, I want to be a professional speaker and speak from stage, getting paid for that, help people outside the stage as well. I didn't have that confidence. So I just kind of didn't tell my dream to anybody, and I wasn't really even telling myself that, but I knew that's what I wanted, be up on that stage. I like that. Yeah.
So, I mean, this was just you not being sure of what you do, wanting to do, connecting to that idea that you're going to find out, and something just pops up, like really just following your passion and seeing something out there that's like, wow, I want to do that. Not enough people are being proactive in that. Like, just because you don't know what you want to do doesn't mean that you can't go out there and find out. Like, if I ask some people maybe what their passion is, they don't know and they don't want to find out. But you didn't really, it doesn't seem like you really knew at that time. Something just came out.
Yeah. So for me, it was a lot about just trying loads of different things. I mean, there are people, if I talk to teenagers, some teenagers, they know what they want. They're like, I love this. They find their passion and they go for it. But I think actually the majority of people, they don't find it. But yeah, I think you got to try. If you don't, try a lot of different things. And then ultimately you're going to find that thing that you really like. And I think people aren't also creative enough. Like, for instance, if you love diving, why do you have to only dive on your vacation? Why not become a diving instructor, get paid for that, and you can dive every single day, right? If you love, I don't know, tennis, why not just become a tennis trainer if you can't be a pro, right? You can still kind of be in the game. Obviously, maybe you wanted to play at Wimbledon, but okay, that didn't happen. Then you do second best, right? So I think it's also a lot about creativity and yeah, doing that, looking outside the box. So it's not just an education, do that thing.
I think there's so much more outside of it in the proactivity. Like, the education has this set structure of this is what you're going to do, this is how you're going to work that way. Instead, you can really be creative. It's like, just because it's not on the syllabus, you can go out and create your own jobs. I mean, when I used to work as a bartender, that was something that I was always aiming to do. Like, there was no events team, so I'll go out and create events. I just loved creating events. I just loved putting on a show for people in that way. I loved teaching people cocktails, and I would make that part of my practice. There's like, just because there isn't a job title for it, it doesn't mean that you can't create it. And I mean, the role that you have does have a job title, but it's like, it's one of those really cool ones, like just speaking on stages, helping people to follow that dream of, like, more of a, I mean, it's a hobby, but it's also something that really helps people grow in their businesses as well. There's like these niches that people just can tap into and get and find a way of doing that.
Yeah, and what I want to emphasize about that is, if you're very niche, like maybe 20 years ago, and you were living, let's say, in a medium-sized city or town, maybe you couldn't live off of that niche. But today, the whole world is your playground. I have clients that I work with pretty much, all over the world, because you can get training through this camera. I can train people through the camera. I think it's a little bit better to be sitting next to each other. If you are like you want to do cocktails, you can make an online course, sell that to the entire world. And if you made absolutely brilliant cocktails that were, standing out, they were particular, maybe you made even themes within cocktails, 80 themes, these were the things, the 90s, whatever. You could make a bunch of different things and you could sell it to the whole world, and you could still do your local thing, and get out and meet people.
Actually, it's funny that you say that, because I mean, I did come from a cocktail making background, and actually that's what I started to do to make really like entrepreneurial sort of moves. When COVID hit, I created cocktail packages where people put them together themselves. They go on date nights, and it's like a Mr. and Mrs. quiz. So then they just shake the cocktail together. They ask each other questions like, who's a better public speaker? And then we both obviously pour your one in. Like, who's better dressed? We pour your one in as well, right? And we end up with these cocktails. So there's just so much to do. And the thing is, you get to treat like the world like your playground in that way. You get to go towards the things that you really love. Okay, I love this idea. Would I buy this idea? Yes. There's like, what, 8 million, 7 million, billion people in the world. And,
and I mean, if you speak English or some other major big language, you can do well. Obviously, if you speak in Hungarian, you're probably only going to sell in Hungary. But even there, that's, probably around 7 million, and you could do fine. Yeah. In almost every niche, I would say. And
just work with the translator, in those places.
Loads of different ways. Good idea.
There's so many different ways. Thank you. Yeah, this is like brainstorm ideas for people session. We was going to just dive into your story, really, and I would like to just bring it back to that. So at this in time, you're not now, but in the story, you've been turning up to these classes, and you said that you still wasn't confident enough on jumping on stage. You'd be on there for 5 minutes, but what was the feeling like at this time? Like, how did you feel turning up to these places, knowing that you'd have to speak publicly or wanting to speak publicly? How did you feel?
I think I felt like most people feel. You get a lot of, you get quite self-conscious. You feel you're getting judged. And it takes a bit of, if you don't really have that self-worth, because everybody's looking at you. You are using everybody's time, but there's something about it that you need to say, you know what? I think I am worthy enough of sharing my advice to you, and feeling okay. You know what? I've done my best. I've been at home. I have read, I've prepared, I've practiced, and I'm going to give my best, and that's okay, no matter the level you have. I think if you put in the effort, it's okay, even if you aren't brilliant right away, but at least you're brave, right? So I think that's where it starts. Just, doing your best, getting up there and that's okay. I'm doing my very best.
So you experienced that a few times.
Yeah. Lots of fear, lots of nerves. And I still feel it when I make a video on LinkedIn, or if I have a speaking gig where I'm out speaking, I feel it. But now I got tools to handle it. I've done a lot of personal growth. So that really helps, like a ton. And I think that's the way to go. But it is scary, public speaking, because people are looking at you, they are judging you, and people sometimes say there's nothing to be afraid of, but there is. There is not a physical threat when you're doing a speech, but there is a social judgment of you. If you do really well, you will move up in the social hierarchy, and if you did really bad, you will move down. So there is something to gain and lose in that way, and I think a lot of people aren't honest about that.
And I think
we just think it's a physical threat.
And I think there's, of course, there's no physical threat, but the threats are like how we're judged and how we're perceived in society is a threat. That's a natural threat. Now, the thing is, one thing that I think is very important, and you can agree or disagree on this and know better than me, really, is I think there should be that level of fear, right? There should be the level of fear, because that you actually care about what you're speaking about. Like, there's not so much fear just jumping on Snapchat or Instagram and posting a picture and like saying something you don't care about. Like, oh, I don't know, look at the football match. Like no one, yeah, I don't know. It's not that important, right?
Yeah.
It can be scary, but if you care about it, like, you know, you're presenting something you care about and people can judge you for that. But then that's where the bravery comes from. That's where like your story really comes from, is you actually start saying things that you care about and people can agree or disagree. Like, no, that's not right. You're an engineer. Like, you can't have other ideas. That's where the bravery starts, I think, actually connecting to what you're passionate about, saying it, regardless of how people respond.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but you know, it's okay. We're all different. We all have different stories in our lives. We all have different experiences. So it's super cool if people don't agree. I think that's how it is, and that's how it should be. And there are so many people out there speaking and saying things, and you just got to find the ones you like. And I also think if some people don't like your message or style, it's probably more likely that some people will love your style, will love your content, rather than you being kind of mediocre and trying to please everybody slightly. If you see a guy like Gary Vaynerchuk, he will swear a lot, right? And personally, I love his style, I love his energy, but I'm sure there are people like, he's swearing that much, you know, it's a total turnoff. But I think it's better to attract 50% and they're like really into the guy, and then 50% was like, okay, this is not for me, rather than 80 or 90% like, yeah, he's kind of okay, you know. So yeah.
I totally agree with you on that point as well, because I had I still have a phrase, I don't use it as much anymore, just to do with the swearing and having a bit of a niche. It's called turning a fuck you into a thank you. And that's really the essence of the brave and the brilliant, because you go towards that thing that's like, you know, you get that feeling like the fuck you feeling. Why are we here? Get the hell out. Like, go away from this place. Or that someone will judge you, and that will be your natural reaction. That's almost the thing that you want to say to them. You want to swear at them and say, hey man, like you should like my stuff. Like, I'm trying hard and like, you're not doing anything. I don't know, however you want to react, right? But instead you turn it into a thank you and you say, I really appreciate you giving me this necessary feedback. Like someone actually coming in and saying what's good and what's bad. Now that idea has been like biased. Like, people like it and people don't like it. I have particular people that it just resonates with, but where I just have a lot of connection calls, where I just try my best to get on the phone with people, that's exactly how we connected. Just, do you want to talk? Like, we're both sharing a network, let's get to know each other. And it's been a few times that people have said to me, hey man, if I was to give you any advice, I wouldn't say the F word on LinkedIn, blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, there's some logic behind it, but I want to be niche at times. I want to say what I actually feel, and I'm very willing for you to tell me why you don't like it. I agree or disagree, but this is my style sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's good what you're doing, and obviously you can turn too many people away, I think, as well. So it is, you know, there's a little bit of being true to yourself, but there might be a little bit of adapting to the audience. So I think there is a place where you can swear and there's not. I think for LinkedIn, it's fine. You know, people can just unfollow you if they don't want to follow you, no problem. Probably in a church, you know, if I had a speech there, I probably wouldn't do it, right? Even if it was my style. So yeah.
Yeah, you got to feed off the audience as well. You got to see what actually, you got to throw some stuff out there and see if it works, and then get your feedback on it. Now, actually, I think this takes us to a nice segue, and I've been dying to say it really. I hope it's a good segue of how brave how the difference is now of you unsure of even to publicly speak. And then the other day on LinkedIn, posting videos where it was really slapstick, right? Where it was alluded to that you were sitting on the toilet, multitasking, doing everything, like really like putting yourself on the line to see what worked. And how does that transformation feel to you, where you're free to express yourself how you want, whereas before you were scared to even say what you were thinking?
I mean, it's the best thing ever, you know, being able to do what you want to do. And by no means am I done. I still have a lot of limitations, but being a lot more free is just the best thing. It gives me so much joy, you know, when you feel inside yourself that I'm doing the thing I love. You know, it feels so good. I cannot explain. It's one of the best feelings in the world, going out there and doing what you love, especially if it's been hard before. I mean, we all know that goals that have been hard for us to achieve, they mean so much more than if it was easy, you know. So I think it's been many years of practice of doing things to consistently put myself out there. Yeah, so it feels awesome. So if anybody's listening, you know, it's so much more about the process. It's so much more about what's happening inside you. Obviously, I'm very happy with everybody that engages in my post, that writes, and it gives me joy when I see it's useful for people. But also the feeling it gives inside of me that I'm free, you know, free to express yourself is wonderful. Like you're doing now, you're doing a podcast. Don't you think that feels amazing?
Yeah, no, for sure it does. And there's so many different ways now that we can express ourselves, and these areas are just not being connected to as much as they could, because people are scared to put themselves on the line in the ways that, of course, you can relate to. I can relate to as well. But we were going over it before. There's like TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook Live, Instagram Live, stories. Like there's just a list. Instagram Reels. There's all of these places that you can be free to express yourself, and you don't even need to do it as a video. You could do it as a post, like a really detailed written post. There's public speaking element. And I really encourage people to do it. It will feel scary.
And what I see, a lot of people are limited. Even people that put them, you know, that post and they're quite far in their business aren't making videos because they say it's got to be perfect, it's got to be good, it's got to have subtitles, it's got to have this header up above, it's got to, you know, be cut, it's got to have things. And like when I started, well, I don't know, about a year or 2 years ago, posting videos on LinkedIn, I didn't know anything about editing, and I'm not particularly good at it either. I can do a few things now. I just pressed record, and then I recorded. People could see, you know, when I pressed, they could see the hand moving away, and then I clicked done. I uploaded that. That was all, you know, just a little text and upload the video. That's all. You have the camera right in your phone. Don't let technology stop you. That's just an excuse. You have to be honest to yourself, like we talked about in the beginning. Is your excuse that you don't think your camera is good enough, your sound is not good enough, that the lighting's not good enough? You're lying to yourself. If you're passionate, you have a great message, you got to put it out there. You know, the lighting, the microphone is like 5-10%. So 90% is you speaking, giving good advice and giving the energy to people.
Yeah. And the experience that brings as well. I mean, that's what you spoke about. Like the first time is not going to be awesome. I mean, you can make something awesome on the first time. I tend to realize that sometimes the first post of a series gets more views and engagements because people are like, what is this all about? So I love that. So you can really go amazing with just a first poorly put together video.
Yeah, but it's not that important if the first one is good or not. I think the important thing is you have a trajectory. You're kind of moving up. And so your starting point does not matter. The only thing that matters is if you start and you keep moving forward, you seek help from other people. That was one of my mistakes. I used too long to pay for help, trying to figure everything out by myself. I think, you know, get someone and pay the guy. And, you know, it's probably going to cost you a little bit. If you want a good guy, you know, there are lots of people doing things for free of almost nothing. But I would say find somebody that's good, that has done this before, you know, that has a track record. If you want to get help on LinkedIn videos, find a guy that puts out videos and gets engagement. A lot of people saying, I'm a LinkedIn coach, I can teach you all this stuff. And then I go look at their post and they got 3 likes and a comment. I'm like, nah, you know, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
You know, I want somebody that's getting more than 100 at least, right? Because it's believable and I want to see the videos good. Then I start trusting the guy and then seeing that he's helped other people along the way as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. because you want to look for someone that's like really embodying the things that they say. I mean, in my own work, it's very important for me to treat myself as my biggest client, and I'm sure it's the same for you. Like for you to ensure that all of the advice that you're giving is out there, and just on the terms of reaching out for help, I think it's really important to, like we said at the beginning, like reflect on yourself and just know where you're lying, because you once you've got this product where in the center it's really good, and like you're really connected to the passions of it and you know what you want to say, yeah, people can seriously help you make that awesome. You just need to connect to what it is that you want to talk about and just be open about it and put it on the line, and from there grow and grow and grow.
Yeah.
And if you need someone to help you connect to what that passion is, maybe that's where it is. But not being scared to put something on the line is the most important thing that we will learn here.
Yeah, or maybe be scared and put it out on the line anyway.
Right. Actually, that's a much better way of putting it. Sorry,
I
that's
don't
so
know.
much
I mean,
better way of putting
either
it.
way, I saw a post the other day. A guy he had made a like picture when you should go on stage and speak. And so yeah, different. Do you have something on your mind that's important to some people in lots of different arrows? And then in one of the arrows it said, "Are you scared to speak on stage?" Yes. And then it said, "Go speak." And then the other arrow said, "No." And it was like, "Go speak." So no matter what, you're not scared or you're scared, go do it.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing. So do you think that was something that you did? Did you feel like there was a time where you just connected to, I'm scared, I'm going to do it anyway, and you felt a brilliant outcome? Was there like one specific time that you could tap into that just felt
I remember the first time that I got paid to speak. Not that I was paid a lot, but I was paid enough that it mattered, and I was speaking for 20 solo entrepreneurs, just half an hour. I was really scared. I remember waking up 3 a.m. or 3 at night, like looking. Okay, I'm ready. Like Asger, just chill out, man. You're not supposed to wake up before in 3 hours. So I had a lot of adrenaline, cortisol. But I think the best thing is really acknowledging the fear that it's there. And once we stay with the fear, everybody says beat the fear, but just, recognize that it's there. It becomes so much less. And there's a theory called acceptance commitment therapy. So what really means if instead of running away from the fear, just be with it, feel it. It's kind of like if you have a chat with a friend, something you are scared of, you don't like, and just after that talk, without receiving any advice whatsoever from the other person, you feel better because you shared it. You stayed in the fear and dealt with it, rather than going out and getting drunk or overeating, over exercising, like so many people do today. Not that there's anything wrong, going out and having a few drinks. Not that there's anything wrong going out and exercising. That's great. But a lot of people run away from the fear instead of staying with it. Because once you stay with it, you get to connect with it, and it will be minimized.
No, that is a very, very valuable thing. Instead of doing all these other things that are going to make it, I mean, not easier, but distract you from the thoughts, distract you from the process, distract you from how you're feeling.
Yeah.
We've got these feelings for a reason. Like they're telling us something, and like connecting to what is going on in my body. There might be something that you can take from it that, okay, yeah, I need to do something to prepare. Like I'm scared because I'm underprepared. Maybe I can focus on that. Maybe there's something else going on. Like, don't run away from it. You're going to make it so much worse. I mean, in lines with running, right? I did a 33-mile run. This was the longest run I'd ever done. It was on a treadmill. And the most I'd ever run before was only 1 week before I'd run 18 miles in one go. So I really was underprepared. And just in terms of feeling these things, right? There was a point where like my legs were hurting. I'm diabetic, so I could pass out, right? I felt like I couldn't breathe. There was loads of stuff going on, right? I was trapped in my shed. The doors were locked. And I was literally looking at this thin sliver of like light coming through. Of course, there was more light, but in my head, that's all I was thinking about. And I was thinking, I can't breathe. I haven't got enough nutrients, all this. And instead of me trying to distract myself because I didn't want to have music. I didn't want to have anything on. It was just me and my thoughts. I had to connect to that. I had to connect to the fact that, hey man, you don't have enough nutrition. You need to drink. Oh my God, you can't swallow. Okay, how can we solve, like I couldn't eat very well. Let me make sure that I'm having more of the drink with vitamins in it. Make sure I'm testing my blood sugar, all of this stuff, right? And it is the idea of accepting that there's fear and trying to utilize it to keep ourselves prepared. Now, there is a time that we're going to feel like we don't believe in ourselves. We don't believe we can get through this. We don't think that this is going to be possible. We don't believe that we're going to deliver an amazing speech. It doesn't really matter about that bit. We don't need to believe in ourselves. What we need to do is be willing to just express it anyway. And again, like following this same train of thought, I was just speaking with a client the other day. I shared this with you just before, and it was amazing how when people start to connect to their passions and they become willing to say it without the fear of how it will reflect, you can just grab anything, and it can be like a playground to you. You can play around with these new ideas. This person who'd never uploaded a video before like this, only just photos, they've got an okay following, like a good following, never uploaded videos before. Their first video in 2 hours got 6,900 videos.
Wow.
Views, right? In 2 hours. This is ridiculous. So it's like, by not bringing yourself to that place where you can play around with your ideas, where you can express them freely, there's nearly now there's way more than 7,000 people that would have never even heard about the stuff she's doing. And she didn't believe that it would generate any kind of response. She didn't believe it. She just thought, I'm willing to give it a go. And that's what people need to do, I think. Connect to what that means.
Yeah, but a lot of times, that's a great story that things can happen really quickly. But I would say for the vast majority of people, it's probably not going to happen fast. It's going to be like a slow route to success. That's the way more common path. And I think a lot of people quit. Maybe they start a podcast and they get done 3 to 5 episodes. Oh, I'm just having 5 listeners. If you look at Joe Rogan, he didn't have a lot of people listening to him in the beginning. If you look at Gary Vaynerchuk, when he put out videos about wine in the beginning, he didn't have a lot of people. Go back and watch his views in the first ones. He's like, I don't know. Maybe it has more now, but I looked at it a few years ago. About 1,000 views. Like, that's not a lot for this guy, right? He uploads a video and he's got 1,000 views within a couple of seconds, right? So this is more common. But sure, it can be fast if you're lucky. But I'm going to say, rather do the slow route. It's great if you do it fast, but don't expect it.
No, I totally agree with you. It's an example to just show you what can happen, like why you should give it a go, why you should just try, because you don't know what will happen. But the slow turning up every day, maybe bombing, just delivering terrible speeches, doing terrible lives, and just being like, I'm going to do that again. I'm just going to have to do it again because it's going to improve me. I think that's the thing we can't cheat, the experience. People don't want to get the experience.
No, and that's my biggest learning points, or the times I've learned the most, was when I got the most criticism. That I remember one time I was speaking at a network. It was about 100 people, and I just bombed. I could feel it was not good. Already after a few minutes, it was not good, and I got a very, very critical comment, and it just shattered my confidence. And I thought literally for a day, am I going to be doing this public speaking thing if this can make me feel so bad? And then I thought, you know what? You're going to go back and you're going to get trained. You're going to train more. You're going to outwork everybody. You're going to come back one day and they're going to look, man, how awesome you are. And I'm going to get more training, more help. And so it's really good when you have one of these experiences. It's tough. It's never fun. It felt really bad being in that situation, but it helped me improve. It gave me motivation. But I had to overcome, that little mountain there. Okay, I got to keep pushing.
That's a beautiful story, man.
Thanks.
To bomb in front of 100 people. How did that feel?
Just like shit, really. When I would go out and speak, it was a free event. I did it for free. I would always get a testimonial because it went well. But this time I didn't, which was fair enough. I didn't get a testimonial because it didn't go well. And yeah, I hadn't spoken for a long time, so I was very nervous as well. Because at that time, my twins were about, I think, 7 or 6 months. So I hadn't spoken actually a little bit more than half a year, because when they're that small, I was like, I couldn't do it. I was just, you know, a walking zombie because of lack of sleep. But then I got that speaking gig, so I just felt terrible. But I got training, I got help, I got some therapy, and I overcame that thing, and you know, did a lot of visualization about that, and that really helped me. I think one of the things that creates the fear is uncertainty. So if you can visualize every scenario in your head that's going to happen, your fear will be minimized. And I see a lot of people talking about visualization. Visualize yourself doing really well. The people are smiling, they're laughing, they're having a good time. Sure, that's good to visualize. But what about visualizing, oh, there's an old grumpy guy sitting over there in the corner. He's on another one in the phone. Because that can happen if you come. How are you going to react to that? How is your brain and body prepared if this is going to happen? Is it prepared if you get a really tough question or some angry dude that says a negative comment? How are you going to handle that? Because you are going to experience that no matter who you are. It's always there are going to be tough times. So I think that's one of the myths within visualization. You got to visualize the tough scenarios too. How are you going to handle that? And that was one of the key things that helped me so much.
I think it speaks to, there's a famous Mike Tyson quote, right, where it's like, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth or punched in the jaw. And that's essentially what it is. Like, you can plan all these like amazing things to happen, but you have to be ready for it to experience the bombing as well. And that's where the growth happens. That's where the real growth happens. That's where the brave and the brilliant happens, you know? Like realizing that this has been scary, that this wasn't fun, and coming out brilliant. Like, that's where I think the fear is the precursor to the brilliance, always.
Yeah. That is the most common, because you know what, if there wasn't fear, probably a lot more people would do it. So the more scary it is, the better, because the fewer people will go for it, right? So I'm like, oh, this is scary shit going up on stage. Great, because fewer people will do it. Less competition, right?
Yeah. And that just rings to another quote that I know, is to become uncommon amongst uncommon men. That's a David Goggins quote. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but the idea of doing the things that no one wants to do and being amazing at them, being like the best at those really difficult tasks. And you can just find them by looking at what's most scary. Where does no one else want to place themselves? Being that person. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, that's true. I think, fear shouldn't stop us. It should move us forward. It's often a compass to guide us. Oh, you're scared of that? That probably means you should do it. There's a good chance you should do it, at least, right? Instead of running away from it.
That is. I mean, I've been saying that as well. Like, you can do something scary and then look deeper as to where was it scary? In what places was it scary? Where do you need to guide your attention again? If you're scared of it, like you say, if you're scared of it, it probably means you need to take an action upon it.
Yeah.
I think that summarizes everything so well. So I kind of don't want to dilute it from this point. It's come to such a nice sort of like ending. If you're scared of something, that probably means you should do it. If you want to become one of the brave and brilliant, take that advice.
Well said, Ben.
So thank you. You said it. You said it. You said it. I repeat it.
All right. You got me.
So I caught you red-handed. Okay, guys. So thank you so much for joining us. And again, thank you for being here, for being another brave and brilliant guest. It's been awesome. I'll speak to you all very soon.
Thanks for having me, Ben. It was a pleasure.
No